Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of The Snake Pit. I'm your host, Son of Bat, and tonight I'm joined with Son of Phantom.
What's up, guys?
And today we're talking about a classic, a movie that actually turned 20 years old. Not exactly on the date, but it is 20 years old, roughly. A movie we both grew up with, and a movie I still remember the advertisements for. An absolute classic and staple in the, quote, torture porn genre. Of course, we're talking about Eli Roth's Hostel. Yes, the gory classic by director Eli Roth that spawned two sequels, one amazing that we'll hopefully cover later today, and one not so amazing that we'll probably cover when we run out of shit to talk about, but we'd rather not talk about that movie. This movie, like I said, is a classic in the torture porn genre. Came out in the early 2000s, around the same time as Saw, and out of those two movies, when Saw came out, they were really freaking out, they being the critics, about that being like really brutal torture porn. But I think Hostel is what true torture porn was. This was a pretty off-the-wall, crazy movie for the time, especially for being a mainstream film. But, Phantom, you remember Eli Roth's hype. He was a director that showed so much promise and kind of just fizzled out.
Yeah, it was strange because I liked so many of his movies growing up, and the fall off was kind of crazy. Like fucking Thanksgiving was so disappointing. It's such a good concept, but just man, why did you do this, Eli Roth? You gave us Hostel 1, Hostel 2, and then Cabin Fever, all this great shit.
And Borderlands, and then fucking The Death Wish, Knock Knock, and then fucking, yeah.
Oh man, what have you done, Eli?
But anyway, we're not going to toil and revel in the failures of Mr. Eli Roth much longer. We're going to talk about the triumphs today with this really amazing movie. Again, I remember when this shit came out, it was a huge deal. I remember the trailers were on all the time at night. And we were talking about this earlier. When I was a kid, I used to I think a lot of us, maybe not to this extent, but when we were in Blockbuster, we would see these movies we knew we couldn't rent. And at least for me, a way to get around not seeing them was I'd make my own comics.
Read the back of them, man. Fucking read the back of that shit.
Memorize the pictures and shit. Hell yeah, bro. But yeah, you memorize the pictures, you make your own stories. And I remember with Hostel, one day after school in some homework class, I drew a picture for that shit. It was the guy with the hose and the surgical mask and a bloody room with weapons. And the teacher confiscated that shit and showed my parents, and they put it up on the fridge and yelled at me for an hour. And I was I didn't even see the movie, and they probably thought I pulled that shit out of my head and thought I was psychotic. But no, I was just trying to get a grip on this trailer I was seeing every night. And I remember the first time I saw this movie, I was blown away. I mean, fucking it was wild. It was really funny. It's still really funny to this day. But yeah, some of those kills still hold up, fucking the Achilles tendon one, bro.
Yeah, man, that one fucked with me for a long time. I remember trying to watch this movie a few times on my own when I was a kid, and I couldn't do it the first few times. I got through the beginning of the movie, the first half hour. I was like, oh, this is a sick movie. Great, tits, hanging out. It's just fun. It just sounds like a good time. And then, oh man, the kills start happening. The first kill goes by. I'm like, okay, whatever. The fucking Achilles tendon happened, and he stands up and just oh no, I fucking shut it off 4 times in a row, and then I finally watched it. And now it's a classic for me. I've watched it 10, maybe a dozen times. Great movie, really.
Yeah, it's easily up there for me also. I don't know about top 10, but it's in there in my top 20 to top 50. Again, in the Donnie Darko video I mentioned, that's a list that's always changing. But in terms of 2000s horror movies, this is top 5. This is a fucking classic. I love this movie. I mean, same with the Achilles tendon shit. I remember the first time I ever watched this movie, probably not even in full. It was one summer, me, my buddy, and these two chicks were at this girl's house, and we're watching it. Because I'm mentioning extreme movies, so I run down to the video store and I buy this because it was $5, and we're watching it, and we get through all the like you said, the chill shit, the weed, the tits, and everything. Everyone's having a good time. And then the fucking Achilles tendon and the killings start happening. The chick's dad comes home and goes ballistic. He didn't know what the fuck all his kids are watching. I remember taking the DVD, the one that we're looking at right in front of us, out of the fucking DVD player and running, taking my skateboard and just dipping, bro. This movie's been around for a while. It's produced by Quentin Tarantino, which is actually, it makes a lot of sense. It's really wild. It makes sense for the Pulp Fiction shit that comes up on the TVs in Slovakia. But Yeah, this movie, man, it's crazy. I prefer this one over Saw in a lot of ways. It didn't overstay its welcome, I think, with a huge fucking series. And Saw never really felt like a torture porn movie. Like the first two, well, the first one specifically kind of felt like a Seven type serial killer movie. This was just gory, bloody, tasteless fun, like in the vein of like a 70s or 80s exploitation movie, which Tarantino fucking loves taking from. And I mean, Eli Roth like loves making movies that are homages to those. So this was like a really solid one. But enough about that. We're gonna get into the plot here, and then see if it's worth your time. All this 20 years later, all this time later. Holy shit, the drinks are catching up, boys. But Hostel. We're gonna get into it right now. Directed by Eli Roth, written by Eli Roth, produced by Quentin Tarantino, Mike Fleece, Eli Roth, and Chris Briggs, starring Jay Hernandez, Derek Richardson, Ib Four, Gunjo Johnson, and Barbara Nidaljakova, and Rick Hoffman. I know I said those wrong. Let's get Phantom in here with his white ass to translate that.
All right. These names we're looking for are Ifor Gudjonsson and Barbara Nidaljakova. I'm probably wrong on that. Let's not lie.
You are very right, righter than I on that. So we're just going to run with what Phantom said. Thank you for the translation. And Rick Hoffman. Cinematography by Emilian Chadmia. Edited by George Folsey Jr. Music by Nathan Barr. Production companies Next Entertainment and Raw Nerve. Distributed by Lionsgate Films in the United States and Screen Gems worldwide through Sony Pictures Releasing and Falcon in the Czech Republic. Released on September 17th, 2005 for the Toronto International Film Festival and January 6, 2006 in the United States, with a running time of 94 minutes and released primarily in the United States and Czech Republic. That's a lie. I remember it being released here in Canada, but anyway. Made on a budget of $4.8 million with a box office return of $82 million. So this is by far not a bomb. This is definitely a huge box office success. And I mean, yeah, this was big when this came out. I remember the trailers everywhere. I remember the fucking covers for this DVD being insane, especially like, you go to Chinatown and you get the secondhand copies. They use the promotional posters with this guy getting a drill in his mouth and shit. It was hardcore as fuck. But essentially the plot's about these two college students, Paxton and Josh, and they meet up with this Icelandic backpacker, and they're basically hitting all the whorehouses and weed shops in Amsterdam, having a good old time with the bros, some old 2000s fun. Everything starts off good, lighthearted and funny, got weed, tit, and some gay jokes here. Everyone's having a good time. Paxton kept reminding us of an early Fear Factor, with hair Joe Rogan. It was a good time. It was pretty fucking funny. But shit goes south when they meet this pimp named Alex, who basically tells them, no, you must go to Slovakia. And we were saying anything that ends with a stan or a ka or anything like that, just don't fucking go, bro.
Terrible idea.
Terrible fucking idea. Like, even though the wall fell, man, they still don't like Americans. I mean, if you went, you should have said you were Canadians. That will come up later. But anyway, they go way into Eastern Europe, way farther than any American should go. And, first the Icelandic friend goes missing. Oli, I should say. He dips. This Japanese girl also goes missing. By the way, they're staying at this hostel where it seems like there's this insane ratio of like 10-1 with chicks, and no dudes anywhere. It just seemed very set up and staged, but these guys aren't seeing it. The bong resin and the beer are just fogging their brains, so they're going along with it. They meet these three Eastern European chicks. One of them is the checkout girl, but you don't really see her much. I guess that's why you forget her. It's mostly these two chicks, this blonde and this brunette. Everyone fucks, they think they're having a good time, but people start going missing. And then you basically find out the whole thing was a sham. These two Eastern European chicks are not, 10s. They're actually 2s with like Chernobyl AIDS and shit. You see them without makeup, and it is fucking a sight to see, boys. But Paxton, he slowly starts losing friends, and he finds out that they're going to this art exhibit. And they go to the art exhibit, Paxton and one of the girls, and he finds out it's this, this elite murder fucking retreat where people pay to like, murder people. It's like it's a bizarre, even darker extension to sex tourism, which there is some commentary on that later. And it's basically up to Paxton to get his way through this whole thing. Highly recommend, if none of you has seen this movie, pause the video, check it out, because it is wild. It's pretty funny at some points, but it is very fucking brutal. very disgusting at times, but a wild ride. Like, Phantom, what did you think seeing this movie all this time later? Is it worth it? Like, how did it hold up, and what were some of your favorite parts?
Yeah, this movie definitely holds up. Like, it's a timeless one for me. Like, the hype around it all through my childhood and early adulthood, it's just like it's cemented as one of the great horror movies in my opinion. And like, I like, what are some good one? Oh fuck, man, some of these kills are just absolutely crazy. This is where we're gonna get into some serious spoilers. That, like, spoiler alert, motherfuckers. People get fucked up in this movie. Like, there's some really good one. The fucking Japanese girl gets a blowtorch to her face, and her fucking eyeball starts popping out all weird. And then somehow this guy thinks that chopping this girl's eye off is the best way to help her. Like, snip, snip, like he's a doctor for the next minute while there should just be escaping. Like, these people are fucking retarded. There's a few things, like, it kind of... There's a few things that kind of fuck up this movie. Like, there's a few things that are unrealistic, like the chainsaw that fucking stays on and has absolutely no mods. And
you were going off about the fucking chainsaw. Let him know about that. Why that wouldn't work.
It's just stupid. Like, if like there's a trick, like all the functional parts of the chainsaw are on there. There's obviously nothing done to it. You can see it in multiple shots, and somehow this chainsaw just keeps running on the floor to kill. Like, it's fucking stupid, guys. It's not realistic. And there's a few other things. When the fucking chainsaw hits the guy in the hand, he somehow still uses that hand for the rest of the movie for all sorts of shit. And like, when a chainsaw hits your hand, it would absolutely rip. It doesn't just clean cut your shit off. It fucking rips and tears. And it'll almost always shatter your arm at multiple points up the arm. So that guy would be in shock and passed out almost immediately from that wound. But good movie.
It's a movie.
Good movie.
Oh, man. When those fucking, there's also some funny shit with these Slovakian kids and how you have to give them candy or cigarettes or they'll beat the shit out of you with rocks. Like, oh my God. Again, it goes back to Eli Roth being like,
the rock kills from the kids are
those
brutal.
Are painful as fuck too.
Just give these kids some candy and they'll stomp someone's head in. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, no, like, again, this goes back to the humor. Eli Roth, I was saying it when we were watching the movie, he was really like the Tarantino of horror movies. I mean, it's probably why he produced this movie, Quentin Tarantino, because Eli Roth was really good with, like, I mean, the dialogue by today's standards, people will be like, oh, it's not very good, but I mean, it's funny. He was able to cram a lot of references, like there's a lot of Shining references, like Room 237. There's a lot of familiar themes, like untrustworthy locals. That's another theme that comes up in Cabin Fever. But Eli Roth's early output in the 2000s, these movies were fun. They were good throwbacks to classic horror movies. I remember another thing about this movie was it was marketed as being based on true events. Now, apparently, Eli Roth had found a site that both Tarantino and Roth had found a site in Thailand that advertised murder for like $10,000, and they based the movie off that. Whether this was a real site or just a spam shock site, I'm not sure, and I don't really want to look into that and have the FBI blow up my computer. But yeah, this is a very believable plot. I mean, like the snuff industry, the murder industry, it's a very fucked extension of the already fucked sex tourism industry. But enough of that fuck shit. A funny fact about this movie, when the aforementioned fucked up flawed chainsaw scene happens, there's this huge bald security guard watching a laptop with some porn with some big old titty chicks. That's actually a porn parody of Eli Roth's first movie, Cabin Fever, called Sex Fever, released in 2003. Will that get a review? I don't know, but you gooners out there in my demographic, check that out. It might be worth it. There's some big old biddies in it, and looked like it was all chicks, so that seems like it would be worth it. But yeah, the gore in this movie is great. There's a great cameo from Takeshi Miike. Probably butchered that, but I think I said it right. He's the director of Audition, Gozu, and of course, one of my favorite films, Itchy the Killer. Eli Roth, again, showing love to the splatter and extreme horror genre with this film. It is a time capsule to the 2000s. The dialogue might piss some new age people off, some very politically correct people, but it's a fun movie. It's a good movie. It flies by. The gore is great. It doesn't hold back on the violence, and It's a classic. Check it out. Yeah, what would you rate this on a scale from 1 to 10?
Yeah, for me, it's a solid 8. I give it the 8 because it has some flaws, but it's still one of my favorite movies. Like it's a great movie. You have to check. You have to watch it. It has rewatchability. If you're not like a total squeamish bitch, it's okay. Some of us are. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's a good movie all around. Check it out, guys.
Yeah, definitely one of the again, a quick note, it's actually interesting. This was a very special time in horror movies. This is when extreme, bizarre, fucked up, super violent movies were in the mainstream. You don't see this a lot, and Phantom gave this an 8. I'm probably gonna have to give it a little higher just because I got the nostalgia glasses on. Maybe about a 9 on this. This is just one of my go-tos. I probably like Cabin Fever a little more, but Hostel is a go-to movie. Fucking solid sequel coming up. I can't wait to review that, but it's a shame that this series kind of went out like a fucking dying old yeller bitch that had to get put down with the third direct-to-DVD movie. The legacy, should have been a lot better. They could have ended with 2 movies and it would have been perfect, but certainly a lot better than Saw. I do like the first couple movies, but this movie I think had a better legacy in terms of it ending, a lot faster, and there wasn't really like 20 movies of Hostel. There didn't really need to be 20 movies. I think 1 or 2 movies is perfect. So again, I'll probably have to rate this movie a 9 because of that. This DVD is fairly inexpensive. I remember I think I got it for like $5 a few years, not a few years ago, over a decade ago, but it should be fairly cheap on the market today. It's essential for any horror collector, any fan of 2000s horror, gore, torture porn, whatever you want to call it. It's fucking Hostel. Great movie to get baked to. Great movie to fucking party with the bros and watch. It's a fun one. Yeah, back when Eli Roth made amazing movies. But this was Hostel. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and we'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and peace.
Peace.